the Sherman family. Lie, 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 yai, lie, 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 yai, lie, la, 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 lie, lie, lie. Ya, lie, 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 yai, lie, la, lie, yai, lie, la, 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 lie, 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 yai, lie, lie, ya, lie, 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 yai, lie, la, lie, ya, lie.
Shabbat Shalom. It is so great to see everyone on Zoom. Let's begin like we've been doing since March 2020, beginning with a heart tap. I invite everyone to go into gallery view to see the members of our community at this time. And it's great to be together on Zoom. This week, we scheduled this a couple of months ago when the sanctuary was not so full. And we thought it would be really nice to all come together on Zoom once again and not be diverted by having some clergy in the sanctuary and some on Zoom, and try something different Thanksgiving weekend. It turns out that more people are in the sanctuary these days. So I apologize to anyone who went to the sanctuary this evening by mistake. Hopefully you've returned home or you're on a phone joining together, because we're all on Zoom. But what we missed was seeing each other's faces up close and personal. So as I scroll through the Zoom rooms, it's really great to see everyone. I do want to send a shout out to the Sherman family, who I see in their new home in Chicago with the kids. It's great to see you. It certainly takes me back to March 2020 when we were trying to figure out what to do in this crazy pandemic. And our senior team was divided. Some people were discussing the possibility of Zoom, and some people were saying it could not be done. And Philip said, "We can do this." And I called him at about 2:00 in the afternoon. And I said, "Philip, I don't understand this technology at all. Half the people say it can't be done. Half the people say it can. What should we do?" And he said, "Let's do it." And ever since that first service, it's become such a sense of comfort through a crazy time. And it's brought us together in such a unique way that even now that we're re-entering the world, it's kind of great to return to this format once again and celebrate Shabbat wherever you are, in kitchens and living rooms and dining rooms, from the Cape to Texas to California and beyond. We join together to celebrate Shabbat. And so let's begin with our cantor, who is now sitting in New Jersey.
I'm in Maryland.
Maryland.
My family's downstairs. Let's see if we can all sing loud enough that they can be heard through the walls. Let's join together. Yai, lai, 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 lai.
So the way to say a Jew or Jewish in Hebrew is Yehudah or Yehudim, or the Jews, named for the biblical Judah, Yehudah. Judah is named by his mother, Leah. And so the question is, why does Leah name him Yehudah? And why does Yehudah become the name for all of the Jews? And it's because Leah is so grateful because she's been watching her sister Rachel give birth after birth after birth. Finally, she's able to give birth to Judah. And she says, Odeh, which has the same root, which means I am thankful. And so Judah literally means thankfulness. And so the name Jew is from the root thankful. And so we are a people of thanksgiving. So much so that ironically, the Hebrew word for thanks is the same root as Judah or Yehuda, which is lehodot, which is the same word for turkey. Hodu is the Hebrew word for turkey. What's ironic is the connection between turkey and thanks in Hebrew has nothing to do with the American Thanksgiving. It has to do with the country called India, which in Hebrew is Hodu. So it's this strange irony that we, the people of Yehuda of Thanksgiving, wind up eating Hodu in America, meaning turkey, simply because the Native Americans were known as Indians, according to the early pilgrims. And so this strange irony that it all comes together, that we should be celebrating with great thanks in Hebrew, eating turkey on Thanksgiving. So with that, I hope everyone had a great Thanksgiving. I see that Vanessa and Josh in the corner of my screen have a turkey behind them sitting in New York City. And I hope everyone had a great holiday. Let us give thanks to God with the celebration of Shabbat as we celebrate with the Shabbat candles. If you have some nearby, we would love to spotlight you as we begin together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And continuing together with the words of Lecha Dodi, Max, if we can place them on the screen so that we can all sing together.
Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Hishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad Adonai echad u'shemo echad L'shem ultiferet v'lithilah לקראת We invite you, if you are able, to please rise in body or spirit to greet the Sabbath bride. Boi v'shalom, ateret bala, gam b'simcha uv'tzola, toch emunei am segula, boi chala, boi chala, all echad audi likrat kala, o pnei Shabbat nekabela, all echad audi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela, pnei Shabbat nekabela.
So, when we started our Zoom service 2.5 years ago, we left much of the liturgy behind. The feeling was we didn't have prayer books in front of us, and we would make the pages of Zoom, faces of our community, our prayer book, and we would look at each other at a time of isolation. Of course, since those early days, we've returned to the sanctuary, and we've returned to a large part of the liturgical worship service. And so tonight we're kind of doing a blend, returning to the Baruch Hu, which we omitted in our early Zoom services, but we decided to return and to include it this evening. And so the call to worship, once again, some people, if you choose to stand, please do. If not, let's continue with these words, these ancient words that call us to prayer. Together we respond. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed, Le'olam Va'ed. And then continuing with words of Shema, reminding us that God is all around us. We just need to let God in.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
We continue with the words of Ve'ahavta. See our words on the screen in just a moment. Okay. Let us chant together.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך
ודיברתם
בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Would you like to jump in, Rabbi? Let's join together with these words of comfort, perhaps what we think of as our TBE anthem, grateful for the love, grateful for the protection that we feel within this community, within the Sukkot Shalom, within the shelter of peace that is spread over us. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. It's beautiful. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu leshalom. V'ha'amidenu shomreinu lechayim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu. Hashkivenu leshalom. Let there be love. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms.
This moment in our service is reserved especially for gratitude. In fact, on Shabbat, we are supposed to express our gratitude 7 times over. So our chat box will be open in just a moment. We encourage you to express your gratitude, your praise, your blessings, and I will challenge you if you can place maybe 7 blessings in that chat. So let's continue as we open up our lips. May the praise come forth from our hearts.
Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach. Sifatai Tiftach. I'm imagining your harmonies are with me. Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Open up our lips so we may praise your name. Open up our hearts so we can feel our pain. Open up our souls and let our love make us whole so we may praise your name, Adonai. Sifatai Tiftach. Ufi Agi Tehilatecha. Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach. Fi Hagid Tehilatecha. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avoteinu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Ve'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayei hakol atah Rav lehoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, Tzomech noflim verofeh cholim, U'matir asurim, Umekayem emunato lishenei afar, Michamocha ba'al gevurot umido melach, Melech mimit umechayeh umatmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah lehachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kdoshim b'chol yom yahalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el hakadosh.
Let's take a brief moment for our own private prayers and meditations.
In the middle of our Amidah, sometimes you'll see some of us bow low for quite a while. And that's because we are reciting in our prayer book that which I'll bring forward today, the Modim prayer, the prayer in our Amidah that says, thank you, thank you. We thank you just because you're God, just because you're there. So Max, if I can ask you to get the Modim slide up on the screen for those that may not be familiar with this text. Page 176 if you have a prayer book in front of you. We'll start in Hebrew and then some simple English. Modim, modim, anachnu lach. Modim, modim, anachnu lach. Modim, modim, anachnu lach. Sha'atahu Adonai. Let's try modim, 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 anachnu lach. Modim, modim, anachnu lach. Modim, modim, anachnu lach. Sha'atahu Adonai. Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ve'imotenu, Le'olam va'ed. Tzur chayenu, Magen Yishenu, Eloheinu, Eloheinu. Atahu le'dor v'dor, Eloheinu, Magen Yishenu, Eloheinu, Eloheinu. Atahu le'dor v'dor. You are the rock of our lives and the shield of our salvation. We say, we thank you in English. Thank you, O Adonai. Thank you, O Adonai. Thank you, O Adonai. We thank you, Adonai. We thank you, Adonai.
We take this time now to ask for healing for those who are in need of a refuah shlema, a healing of body, of spirit, or of mind. We invite you to type the name of those who you are thinking of who are in need of healing in our chat as we continue with Mishaberach V'Cholim.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing. And let us say, Amen. Isheberach imotenu mekor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
So each Shabbat, we also give thanks for those God-given moments we've shared during the past week. I know for many of us, we're deeply grateful for food and family and friendship, having celebrated Thanksgiving. But if you've celebrated a birthday this past week, we would love you to raise your hand so that we can acknowledge you as you celebrate another year on this earth. Happy birthday to our birthday celebrants. Any anniversaries out there? How about something beautiful and new happened to you this week? Does that apply to anyone? How about if you took a good walk yesterday and appreciated a beautiful day outside? I saw Rabbi Sapphire even ran the turkey trot in Wellesley. Is that right?
Actually, Rabbi, I was going to say, I did. I saw many congregants there, but I also ran into 2 trotters who are congregants who got engaged this week. So mazel tov to Emily London and Michael Berkson. So amazing to see you. Mazel tov.
Beautiful. Well, for all these things, let us give thanks with words of Shehechianu.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. We say Amen.
Well, Rabbi Harper, I remember when we interviewed you and ultimately hired you to serve our community as a rabbi. We were all on Zoom together, and our first meetings were in this context. So it's great to see you back again on Zoom and giving the teaching this evening.
Thank you. All right. I really love Thanksgiving, but often there's some major point of contention whenever family gathers. Now, in our family, it's usually around a particular dish, one which divides sibling from sibling and parent from child, the quintessential condiment, cranberry sauce. Now, some insist on eating only that which comes out of a can, sliced so that the little ridge imprints are still visible in those smooth, jiggly rounds. But for others, it's homemade cranberry sauce or bust. And some years, the table will feature up to 3 different varieties so that new recipes can be tried while keeping a classic standby. Now, determining which bowl of red stuff to dig into can feel like a test of loyalty, with the sensation of all eyes silently judging you while you make your choice. So inevitably, I panic and ladle every available cranberry sauce onto my plate so as not to hurt any feelings. Now, as I went through this annual ritual this year, I couldn't help but think of another story revolving around hearty servings of red food and family drama from this week's Parsha, Toldot. So the scene that we encounter in Genesis 25 at the beginning of this Parsha seems quite simple on its surface. Jacob sits stirring a pot of lentil soup. His brother Esau comes in from the field, famished. He spies the soup and says, "Feed me, please, some of that red stuff. I'm starving." Jacob replies, "First, sell me your birthright." Esau says, "Look, I'm at the point of death. What is my birthright to me?" "Swear it to me now," Jacob says. And Esau complies. So Jacob ladled out a bowl of stew, and Esau ate and went on his way. Now, most commentators from our tradition are quick to point out that this scene demonstrates Esau's boorishness and his unfitness to inherit the birthright and the accompanying covenant. Esau comes tromping in from hunting, sees the food in front of him, and can only focus on satisfying his primal desire to eat in that moment. So intent on what is right in front of him and how he feels right then that he cannot comprehend the important long-term implications of what he's bartering away, and doesn't even seem to give it a second thought once his hunger is satisfied. The usual literary language of the text even gives way to substandard Hebrew for just about the only time in the entire Tanakh in order to convey Esau's inarticulateness and his animalistic behavior. Haliteni na min ha'adom hazeh, he says. Now the verb haliteni, which is used for feed me, is the same verb that's used for feeding camels, which apparently is done by shoving handfuls of food directly into their mouths. And as for the food that Esau once fed to him as soon as possible, he describes it as literally that red. Hence, he earns the pejorative nickname Edom, red, for himself and his descendants who, go figure, are the historical enemies of Jacob's descendants, the Israelites. But a few commentators also notice that Esau's hunger might not have been exaggerated. It was not unusual for hunters to occasionally be out for days at a time. Sometimes they got lost, or they had to travel very far to find food. So it's entirely possible that Esau was truly faint with hunger, in which case the scene reads very differently. Esau comes in from the fields, not having eaten for days. He sees his brother cooking, smells the stew wafting up from the pot, and with his last vestige of strength and awareness, begs his brother Jacob, "Please feed me some of that. I'm starving." Now crafty Jacob, seeing his brother's desperation, demands, "First sell me your birthright." And Esau, defeated, relents, "Look, I'm going to die, so what good is my birthright to me? You'd get it anyway. Swear to me," Jacob insists, and so Esau does, finally earning enough of the simple stew to restore his strength. So, how are we supposed to know which version of this story is accurate? How are we supposed to understand Esau? Is he boorish and blundering, or desperate and defeated? The way that we read this story, the narrative that we shape from the facts that the text relates, hinges on a single factor: our judgment. Whether it is Esau or Jacob who is more sinned against than sinning has less to do with them and far more to do with us. What are the biases that we bring to the text? Where do our own sympathies lie? How do our experiences influence our reading? We can't know what exactly is going through Jacob or Esau's heads, so we supply what's going through our own instead. We project our own feelings, our own inherited narratives, and we shape the scene before us according to our worldview, whether or not we even consciously realize that we're doing so. And of course, we don't only do this with Torah. We make judgments all the time. We see a situation, we interpret it according to our own internal framework, and then we draw conclusions. This is part of how we're hardwired as human beings. The trouble is, in the real world, when we act on the judgments that we make about others, especially when we don't know their side of the story, or think about how they might be affected by the assumptions that we've made. Thanksgiving and the holiday season as a whole is festive and joyful, but also frequently fraught with an undercurrent of judgment. Whether at family gatherings or office parties, walking down the street or peering through a Zoom screen, there's often a sense that everyone, ourselves included, are on display, which comes with an invitation for unwelcome judgment and commentary. What and how we eat, what we buy or don't, who we're with, how we look, our politics and proclivities, one's cause for celebration may be disparaged by another, whether intentionally or unintentionally, through a sideways glance or an offhand remark. Navigating judgmental comments and looks during this season can be especially challenging. Recall, though, what we learned by looking at the story of Esau's fateful meal in Parshat Toldot. Judgment usually reflects more about what's happening in the eye of the beholder than in the reality of the beheld. Judgments that we project onto others or that others project onto us usually reflect personal insecurities. That which we tend to criticize or envy in others is most often closely related to what we lack or what we don't like about ourselves. So, if a family member makes a comment that stings, grant a bit of grace for the personal pain that might be behind that remark. Or when you're tempted to offer an unsolicited comment on a friend's Facebook post, pause and look inside first to see what emotion might be motivating that desire. And remember that even a well-intentioned comment can cause pain that we can't anticipate. So let us not forget also to give ourselves the kindness of not adding self-judgment into the mix as well. So I pray that this Shabbat of Thanksgiving grants us the space to step back and find our inner light so that we may gain perspective and patience and bring grace and generosity of spirit to this season of gratitude.
Yasher Koach. I am not the things my family did. I am not the voices in my head. I am not the pieces of the brokenness inside. I am light. I am light. I'm not the mistakes that I have made, or any of the things that caused me pain. I am not the pieces of the dream I left behind. I am light. 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 I am not the color of my eyes. I am not the skin on the outside. I am not my age. I am not my race. My soul inside is all light. Oh, whoa. I am light. 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 I am divinity defined. I am the God on the inside. I am a star, a piece of it all. I am light.
Thank you, Rabbi Harper Cantorzel. So beautiful. So I know in my family, when we gather around the Thanksgiving table, it is hard not to notice who is not here with us, but we recall their memories and their names with gratitude, as we do in this moment of the Mourner's Kaddish. I will invite you to remember right along with me and recall the names of your loved ones in our chat, whether you are observing a yahrzeit, an anniversary of a death this Shabbat, or are in a recent period of loss. Please share their names with us. I'd like to add the names of Jay Meltzer, Carolyn Sundell, and Michael Thompson, who all passed this month, and John Schachter, the cousin of Cantor Shanazel, who was just interred today. We have been asked to remember and read the yahrzeits of Francis Grossman, of Martin Stein, and of Nicole Weinberg. We remember as well all of those who you remember, those names who you have placed in the chat. And I will invite you, if you are able, to rise in body or spirit and invite Max to place the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on our screen so that we can join together. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ve'alma divrach cherutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon uvyomechon v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala ubizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehe shemei Rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shemei dekudesha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehe shalama Rabbah min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Thank you,
Zichronam
Cantor.
Lebracha.
Rabbi Sapphire, can you share announcements?
Absolutely. So the biggest thing that we want to call your attention to is that Hanukkah is our next holiday on the schedule. We are observing the Rosh Chodesh Kislev, which means that the month of Hanukkah is upon us. So please join us. We will begin our big festivities with the Dreidel Dash, which occurs, I believe, on Sunday, December 18th. You can register to run with us, to walk, to volunteer. Just come for the community festivities. And that afternoon, we will be having a wonderful community Hanukkah concert, I believe, the Voices of TBE, and we are dropping an album that afternoon as well. An exciting first night of Hanukkah it will be, so please join us. I also want to call your attention to the e-blast that has lots of upcoming events. Specifically of note are several Tikkun Olam opportunities from CASA and our Racial Justice Initiative this week. So a great opportunity to exercise your mitzvah muscles.
So we will return to the sanctuary next Friday night, and then December 9th, in 2 weeks, we will be in the sanctuary with Senator Elizabeth Warren. We hope you can join us on Zoom or in the sanctuary for that special evening. Let us now conclude with Kiddush and Motzi. And so as we do each week, although we as clergy get to see everyone this time around, being on Zoom, if you have a Kiddush cup in front of you, please raise it high in the air so that we can place you on Zoom. I just want to acknowledge Cantor Zell had a death in her family, and so her camera is off as she was reciting Kaddish along with them in Maryland, and so we send our condolences to your family at this time. It is really good to see everyone on Zoom, so if you have a Kiddush cup, let's raise it high in the air, and Cantor Rosenberg is going to lead us in Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava u'b'ratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher letziar Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, ve'otanu kitashta, mikol hamim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, ve'ahava u'ratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh HaShabbat. Take a sip, fulfill the mitzvah.
And now I should just say to Rabbi Harper, I want to thank you for your beautiful sermon. It turns out that my neighbor actually works with cranberries, and I know the interesting factoid that 30% of the world's cranberries come from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. So we live in an incredible state of cranberries. So lest we judge the importance of that incredible fruit. Where are you, Rabbi Harper? I no longer see you on my Zoom screen, but
I'm next to you on my screen.
Okay, great. So you who sit in New York right now, will you help lead us in Motzi? I don't know if you have a challah in front of you.
Beautiful.
It's
And
the fake turkey, though.
And for those that don't, just a quick moment before we recite Motzi, that we have, many staff who help us in our building, and Matthias among them, Charles St. Alavo, and I know I'm forgetting other names, Michael, of course, who put that challah on our bima in person every week. So just a quick shout out to them as we get chalot on the screen.
All right. So I'm standing in with this is the symbolic fake Thanksgiving turkey of the Beagle family. But thank you to the Shermans who have some beautiful challah there.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon.
All right, Nava and Elsie, you need to take the bite. It looks like you already have. So now we can open up the microphones and wish each other Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Great to see you.